Today, we're looking at a brown ink by Callifolio Inca Sol. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, there's timestamps down below so that you can skip around, but if you got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. Also, if you're interested, you can follow me on Instagram, and if you're new here, I would invite you to subscribe. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then put the ink into this 11-drawer True Writer with a broad nib to write for a day and to take my notes for this video. In order to have some standardization in my writing samples, I always use Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. I do test other papers, but those will show up later in the video. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in sample form, so it came in a vial like this. And to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Now, let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. No bleeding or ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, very nice ombre shading where it's going from darkers, fading its way to lighter, fading its way darker, like on brown. Starts dark, fades down to the end. Fox starts light, fades up to dark, nice. 7 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, no real shading here, 14 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine shows some color variation. We get a bunch. The medium shows none. We got none. Tomoe River. No bleeding. Normal Tomoe River ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. Extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, very nice ombre shading. Look at that. The starts lighter, gets very dark through. Very nice. Over, starts light, works its way dark. Gorgeous stuff. 13 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine. Same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. 22 seconds to dry. Scrubby of the extra fine, far left to far right, does show some shading, which we do get. Medium shows none, and we got none. Rhodia has no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, beautiful, beautiful shading through here. 8 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, just a little bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. 14 seconds to dry. Scrubby of the extra fine shows some color variation, and that is the gorgeous color variation we're getting up here, that shading. Medium shows none, and we got none. I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see this kind of brown that's as the line, and then pink moves up. We start to see a red and then this very nice orange on top. Here is a complex ink. The one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. Now strangely, I didn't see that much brown in the first one, but here is a whole bunch of it that's really held into place. Then we see that pink push up and that orange, and there's a bit of yellow that I didn't mention the first time, but it becomes much more obvious here, where I just for some reason wasn't seeing it on the first chromatography, but it is there. Resistance tests are done to see how well this ink can be expected to perform on the page and how hard it may be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before I test it. Looking at the highlighter, I go straight to the lowercase h that gets blown out a bit. Now I'm worried about losing important ideas, so I wouldn't use it in a note-taking situation if I had to highlight. Water is reactivating and lifting it off the page. We start to see some of the white of the paper coming through. Water's all that I needed to get it out of my pen. Pen flush doesn't seem to be doing, it actually seems to be doing a little less than water, strangely. I don't know, there's been a couple of those freaky times that's happened. Now the 1/3 bleach solution completely removes it from the page, but again, all I needed was water. I test the viscosity or flow using a tilt test, which I'm going to link the video showing how I do that.
For the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9.
Callifolio's Inca Sol has a viscosity of 2.42, making it normal.
For the inks I've tested, I have found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. I find this by using my writing samples that were done on Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper.
Callifolio's Inca Sol has an average dry time of 13 seconds, still making it normal. Instead of finding inks that look like Callifolio's Inca Sol, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. And I wanted a nice purple. So I chose Krishna's Orchard Lily.
The second writing sample is done on P. Berger, Levenger, and Strathmore writing paper.
Here we're looking at P. Berger. It's a French rules student grade paper. We get spots of bleeding, lots of show through. The extra fine, you could probably use the back of the page, not so much the medium, not the stub. The 1.1 has feathering, tiny feathering all over it. No spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The extra fine is a lot lighter than the stub, with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and this is some of the nicest shading I've seen on this paper. This is really very, very nice here. 2 seconds to dry. Nice shading with 2 seconds to dry. How rare. Medium is darker than the extra fine, just a little bit lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 3 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both shows no color variation, although in the extra fine we actually do get some shading, some nice darker spots, some nice. Levenger, no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, and gorgeous, gorgeous shading. It is just fantastic. Look at the word quick. Nice. Look at the word over and look at how it's totally different tone than the 4 seconds it took to dry. Medium is much darker than the extra fine, same tone as the stub. With no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 7 seconds to dry. Scrubby of the extra fine shows color variation, and we got it. Without a doubt. Medium shows none, and we got none. Last up is Strathmore writing paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. Extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, nice spots of shading, peppering shading throughout. Not the ombre, but the peppering. 1 second to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, same tone as the stub. With no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 5 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine and the medium show color variation, although we only get it in the extra fine. And that is all that I have for the writing sample. So what do I think of Callifolio's Inca Sol? It's a very pleasant tone going down on the page, and it often shades very nicely. It really is a pleasure to use. It's got an added benefit that makes me wonder if it's a lubricated ink, because it does sometimes make my nibs feel a bit smoother on the page. So what nib and pen are going to give the best writing experience with this ink? You have to watch out for your very wet pens because they're going to eat up the shading that this ink can offer. But a medium flow broad or medium nib is going to put down a very nice tone and really highlight the shading that it has to offer. If you've enjoyed this video and made it this far, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. And if you didn't like it, give me a thumbs down and tell me why. Thanks for watching.